You can't just say it neutrally. You have to have an emotion attached to it.
And that's when I feel I do the worst, is when I'm just like, I say this after this.
It can work without it, but it works way better with an emotion attached to it. So.
And that's tough too when you're doing new material, finding your voice in that material, and then also trying to build in the midst of that the context in which you're trying to bring these people into this world that you're trying to explain to them. Because in your head you see it so vividly what you're talking about, but they don't, and you need to bring that to their
to be there. It has to be here.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be there. You didn't have to be there. You have to bring it here.
So it just sounded like a wrestler promo backstage.
I thought he was like quoting Nicolas Cage at some point.
Bring the there here for them.
You can't laugh at that.
Let's introduce what we're doing. Welcome to Building Bridges to Better Bits. I don't know.
Wow, I love that. Alliteration.
I figured you would like that.
Barry, Beatrice, and Brad.
I'm Beatrice. I can't even say it. No, we're really just kind of winging this one, taking bits that, and if you guys want to do this for your own something that you're working on, not necessarily today, but next time, and do this, then let's turn our putting our heads together and building bits into content, because people love to see the gears turning. People love to see how the sausage is made.
Yes.
And so let's put these pig parts together in a casing and call it a joke.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeremy, I know you can't eat pig. Introduce yourself.
The Lebanese are very Christian.
Yeah, that's true.
So we love bacon.
That is true. I'm generalizing. Joining me, I'm David Horning. Joining me, Steve Mers and Jeremy Demery, the two others who help us make You Can't Laugh at That possible. Say hi.
Hello.
All right, and that's our episode.
I'm like, hello, and then I laugh. What mood is he in? I don't know.
Yeah. Steve's the wild card of the group. He's the spark plug, the powder keg.
Remember, I'm not co-pilot. I man the turret.
Yep. Let's talk about me.
Yeah. David, if you don't know yet, David is contracting us to work on his material for him.
Yep.
It's under the guise of having a special episode of our podcast. Just kidding.
Yeah, right. Here's what I want to do, though. I do want to like work on our bits and work them out, and might as well do it together in a setting where it's like you can turn it into content.
I see. That's why I'm fine with it. I'm fine with this being a David episode for two reasons. One, he's done enough to help me out with my own comedy and my own bits, and two, I will find a way to make this about myself. No worries. Please. I got this.
What I would do, because I know better, is this, and that's what I'm going to do a lot. So yeah, we're going to be battling it out.
Listen, I've done comedy for 9 years, David.
9 years if you count the Halloween that I started. It's going to be 10 years very soon.
My favorite is I've been doing this since 2000 or 2012.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The year you started.
I'm just trying to convince people, because they are not aware of my work. I just want them to know that I've been doing it long enough to speak somewhat authoritatively. I almost said authoritarianly. But yeah.
You should always preface it like, look, I've been failing at this for a really long time.
Listen, if you knew who I was, I wouldn't have to tell you how long I've been doing it.
All right.
But you don't know who I am, so I'm clearly not that talented. So maybe I should just shut up.
Not the talent, it's the amount of opportunity you've been giving.
Right.
Yeah.
The amount of opportunity I've been squandering.
So let's do this. Let's take a bit that each of us are working on, and like once a month, do like a 15-minute, 20-minute little special to kind of work it out together.
I love it.
How do you feel about it, Steve?
I'm feeling it.
Because I want to hear some of your new stuff. You're such a good joke writer. I feel like I've
got tons of new stuff, but that needs a lot of work, but will really work because I love it so much. It has to work somehow.
That's it. If you have that love.
Although one thing I learned in this book is that, or one of these books, I was going to say that some of these books describe how there's a difference between something being comedy or comedic or comic and something being funny. Something being funny is anything you laugh at is funny, whether it's actually not really mechanically that funny or not. You just, for whatever reason, you had a response to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be the worst joke in the world, but if you laughed at it, it's funny to you.
Mm-hmm.
But comedy is more like a real art form where you're really doing a lot of mechanics and putting stuff together, and it has value beyond your own subjective, whether you find it funny or not.
Mm-hmm.
But wait, what were we just talking about, though? Oh yeah, you like my jokes, of course.
Yes, I like your jokes.
Yeah, if you want to, but I mean, weren't we doing your set first? I didn't want to like wedge in.
Yeah, I mean,
what you were saying.
So here are the ground rules. All right, get a recording from an open mic that you've done the bit.
Mm-hmm.
So over the next month, work some new stuff out and take the recording from what you think is the best that you did it, regardless of audience reaction. Audience response doesn't matter. The best that you did the bit, and we'll talk about what went well, what can go better, like what perspectives we have on it that might give you an insight on where you're taking it, and just talk it out. And kind of the point of this the podcast itself anyway is why things are funny. So like you talk about those books, you laugh, you think it's funny, and then you can put it into these categories. Is it comedic? Is it comic? Is it comedy? I like to talk about why things are funny, and then we can kind of combine the two together.
I need to get over hating watching myself do comedy, because that's the biggest reason I also have this inherent superstition that when I record myself, I'm going to have a bad set, and it puts weird pressure on me to do better, even though it's honestly like does not exist. I'm just an in my head kind of a person. And so what I need to do and what I planned on doing in the future is recording all my sets so that it just becomes the norm. I'm always recording. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
And then I do plan on marketing myself heavily now, because nobody knows anything, like, unless they've seen me do comedy or a local comedian, they don't know who I am. And I don't think people give me enough credit. So I need to like be like, here, look, this is a joke that works.
Yeah.
And I, just keep posting them on Instagram, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Just throw it on your story. Number one, the story.
Audience.
Yeah, right. And the story disappears after a day. But if you can consistently like, oh, that Steve Mers guy is fun, or that Steve St. Eve guy is hilarious. Facebook jail.
We don't know what his name is.
Yeah. So yeah, and there are some times where I'll record myself and I'll not listen to it because I know exactly why I bomb. So like if I go up and I say something about the previous comic and get nothing, I know that the audience was against me from the start, and that's my fault. And so I have to do better at like bringing them in, or my energy level is low, or I'm stressed out and I brought it to the stage, or, whatever, like the mindset things, and not the little tweaks of like, oh, you forgot a tag here, or, oh, you paused too long here, or, oh, like, no, it's the energy that I bring to the stage really has an impact on that. And I know that a lot of times when before I'll even listen back to something, like, be yourself, dude.
There's a constant I noticed, or at least something like if I'm not nervous before I go on stage, I do really well. I have tons of energy. But if I'm nervous, I can do either or. I can do well nervous, but I will also often flake out. Usually because I'm high, but also because I might just be nervous. I don't know. But generally not nervous when I'm sober. So I just need to work on that.
What about you, Jeremy? Is that like a constant before you get on stage that if you're going to have a good set or not, like looking back?
Yeah, it's whether or not, for one, whether or not I got good enough sleep the night before. If I'm well rested, I'm more than likely going to have an okay set,
Mm-hmm.
or at least I'll feel more confident with how I performed. Or two is whether or not I'm in a good mood. Sometimes,
Yeah.
though, I don't know, because like lately I've been going up angry. Something will happen, and I'll get irritated, and I'll go up with this like angry attitude, and I don't know what it is, but it works for my what people perceive me as. So if I can use that, then great. If I if I can't, then I'll move on to something different. But uh, yeah, it really depends on like mood and whether or not I got a good night's rest the night before is
Yeah.
definitely crucial.
You know
I've
what?
noticed that.
No, you know what? It's for me when I haven't had enough sleep or my brain's just not functioning to its optimum level is I will be like that kills sets. The
Mm,
Yes,
because your just brain is not firing as quickly as it needs to be. That will ruin a set,
mm-hmm.
most certainly.
Yeah.
regardless of why that you're doing that.
Steve, when I've seen you thrive on stage, it's like there's a thread connecting all of the disconnected bits. There's like it just feels like, even though I don't know exactly what that thread is, I can tell that you have, like, what you're gonna say. You're not even thinking about what you're gonna say next, but like, you know what I mean?
So you reach a point where you have enough connections that are
Mm-hmm.
semi-related, so you can go up there, and as long as, I mean, depending on the way you approach it, you can definitely interweave everything. Or at least
Mm-hmm.
with my material, I can do that. But it doesn't always work out that way.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes it is because I constructed the set to be like that. It might seem like I'm just doing whatever, but I will interconnect stuff both into bits about interrelated stuff, and then in between those bits, interrelatedness between those bigger chunks, even to make a larger set for like 15-20 minutes.
Yeah. Jeremy, I think it's the authenticity of your irritation. Like, does it connect with the bit that you're saying? And I think sometimes we can fall into the habit of just saying the words and
Don't
not meaning what
recite.
we say. Yeah.
Don't recite. Mean what you say. Yep.
Yeah. And so I saw you do it at Hatfields a couple weeks ago, and like everything that you said hit, like everybody was listening, and it was later on in the mic too, so everyone was exhausted, but everybody that was still there was listening to what you were saying, and you were getting laughs in places that I've seen, like when you just go up and you're just like nonchalant Jeremy, like
Mhm.
not work. Like in this case it was working. Like the skin of the slaughtered pig bit worked because you were like irritated about the fact that you were homeschooled and you don't have this understanding of this thing, and like, I'm irritated that I'm confused by it. This is what I think it is. This is my perception of it. And it irritates me because everybody else knows what this is. But here I am, like, this is what it looks like to me. And it connected differently because there was like, oh, he's being honest.
Yeah,
Attitude. You can't just say it neutrally. You have to
Right.
have an emotion attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
To make
And
it
that's
better.
when I feel I do the worst, is when I'm just like, I say this after this.
It can work without it, but it works way better with an emotion attached to it. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and that's tough too when you're doing new material, finding your voice in that material, and then also trying to build in the midst of that the context in which you're trying to bring these people into this world that you're trying to explain to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because in your head you see it so vividly what you're talking about, but they don't, and you need to bring that to their
To
head.
be there.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be here.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
there. You didn't have to be there. You have to bring it here.
Mm-hmm. So it just sounded like a wrestler promo backstage.
I thought he was like quoting Nicolas Cage at some point.
Bring the there here for them.
You can't laugh at that.
How would you describe what a high concept premise is?
Um, I can describe a high concept. Well, let's see. What's a joke of mine? Because they're all high concept.
Your grandma in Texas.
That's not high concept, I don't think. I'm trying to think of what. Oh, here's a high concept. Um, I talk about how I'm a fair weather sports fan. I'm also a fair weather hurricane relief volunteer. That's a high concept premise because it's a joke within the premise. It's irony built into the premise is a good way of describing high concept. You already got a funny premise. It may not be laugh out loud funny, but it's inherently funny because of its irony. It's irony. Uh, and uh, and then I do examples where I'm like, someone comes to my door and says, "Hey, you want to go?" And I'm like, "Nah, it's looking really shitty out. I don't really want to go help you with that." And it's like that's the irony of it. Is like that's your one job. Is it's supposed to be shitty out. You should be helping them stack sandbags, but you don't want to because you're fair weather. You know, it's all built into that. And then
It's two premises at once too. The play on words and also the visual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I still remember when and where I thought of that. I was in North Olmsted by Best Buy driving my car, and I was just like, wow, I have a weird memory like that. I can remember where I was when certain things happened.
Mm-hmm.
I remember where I wrote the nun joke. I was in North Royalton doing door to door at someone's house, waiting at the door, and I thought of it. I was like, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
It's weird how you remember those things, but
yeah, there, especially when you get because it evokes that emotion, and I hope it does. Like when you come up with a joke, like it should make you genuinely feel good and like laugh and surprise you, and then you want to share that with the audience, and that's why I do it. That's why it's like, oh, this is too funny to keep to myself.
The good jokes are epiphanies.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, wow, write it down. I mean, I'm very sick of these jokes, but when they came, I know that they have the value.
So it's how do you communicate that moment on stage, even though you've said this thousands of times?
Luckily, I like to put them away for a while so that they come back out fresh out of my face.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just a grueling process.
Right. You know, you got to bring them back to the time when you were helping those North Royalton folks out with their hurricane relief. Okay. And I remember when I came up with this joke. This kid was he came to the door and he had a super soaker, and my roommate, who was in town from South Carolina, was home, and he opened the door because the kid was knocking on the door. He came over a bunch of times over a couple day period, this kid, with a different toy every time. And so my roommate opened the door. This kid had a super soaker, and the second he opened the door, he pointed the super soaker at my roommate, like through the screen door, and my roommate slammed the door shut. And he sprayed like an instant later, and it hit the window on the door. So he was like literally going to spray inside our house. And my roommate was pissed, and I was like super annoyed because I've been ignoring the kid. I've done everything that I say in the joke. Yelled at him. I tried ignoring him. I was like, you can't keep coming over here unless you need something. And it was just at the point where I was so annoyed. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go over there and I'm going to tell his mom I'm a sex offender. And it made me and I just cracked up right when it came out of my mouth, because it was one of those things that I said out loud and I didn't expect it. It's kind of like let my brain I'm so annoyed with this. I'm a sex offender. And my roommate laughed and I laughed, and I was like, oh, this could be a bit. And then I've been working on it for the last month or so. And this is what we have so far.
Why would you go out of your way to make up all of that when you can go the easy route and just molest him?
Because I need to make the joke funny. All right. I want to deliver the point without, I want to get the status without doing all the cool stuff involved with it.
See, this is the thing though about telling a joke. I mean, obviously I was kidding and it's funny, but I wouldn't suggest you fundamentally changing the joke in that way. One of the things is, well, obviously, but the thing with me telling jokes is I don't want to talk about stuff like that because I know that a certain percentage of people have been molested. I just don't want to trigger people. I don't want people to feel, trauma or whatever if it's that bad for them. So it's like I just stay away from those things because I'm courteous. Like it's like don't be an asshole. Yeah,
Right.
you can talk about whatever you want. And it might be a bit extreme, might cause people laugh. It might be therapeutic for some people, but I'd say that it's safe to just not do that.
I'm I'm calling if I were to put the joke on an album, I would title it David's Rules. And the whole point of the joke is that I'm an outside of the box thinker. Like I'm a problem solver. I'm a creative at solving problems. And so what I want the joke to do is I want it to set up that I have these outside of the box kind of absurd solutions that would technically work, but they're just like a little bit outside of the realm of possibility. Like, would he or wouldn't he do this? And then I build the absurdity in it so that the joke isn't about the fact that I'm saying I'm a sex offender. It's about like, this is a solution to a problem with all the bad stuff. And it's leading into me solving all these other problems in weird ways.
Think outside of the writer's block.
Exactly. And again, like this is a premise where I can just sit down and be like, how is this, like, how can I think of a weird way to solve this problem? So any bit that I have that I'm stuck on, I can immediately go back to that central point and maybe tie it to this joke when building a set.
Yeah, I like to consider myself a problem solver. So I've had this trouble with a neighbor, right? There's this 4-year-old kid that lives with his mom next door because he's a freeloader. And he keeps coming over to my house, knocking on my door, trying to show me all the new toys that he's gotten. Over 3 days, he's knocked on my door 12 times. And yeah, he's 4. I've seen the same Super Soaker a couple times because he's an idiot. But whatever, you know, his mom, she is oblivious. She has no idea this is happening. And I've tried everything. I've tried being nice. I've tried ignoring him. I've tried getting mad at him. Nothing seems to work. So I'm about to march over to his mom's house and tell his mom that I'm a sex offender. Because if she's a decent parent, she's not going to let that kid come back to this show and tell. Right? And I'll commit to it, too. I will go down to the courthouse like, yeah, where do I register? Just confuse a magistrate. He wants to sign up for the list. We don't have a protocol for this. What do we do? Right? Because if his mom Googles me, I want my face to show up on that map. The only one who's smiling. Right? I want to show up to a mandatory meeting and be proud to be there. Like, this may be Megan's Law, but we're playing by David's rules, baby.
That's my favorite joke in the bit.
Yeah, that's such a. I like how you kind of you take it from your house and you kind of walk us to like the police station where you kind of like in a sense turning yourself in. That's such a unique approach to writing that joke because you think you would kind of stay there in that world with between you and that child, but be kind of like you break yourself off in a way where you don't necessarily think about the fact that you're interacting with a child anymore. Because I think as comics, we kind of tend to focus on like on that aspect of it, and then it almost becomes like creepy in a way.
Yeah.
And I like how you did that in a way where it didn't come across as like because you know you're you're an adult, you're a single adult. Like why would you be interacting with the neighbor's kid at all? And this kid's been kind of foisted on you because he's the one who's kind of inconveniencing your life, which is such a good approach to how to accomplish a joke like that. The only thing I would add is when you approach the mom, or you say like, "I want to tell the mom I'm a sex offender." I don't know, because like I'd be like I would say that like when I want to tell the mom that I'm a sex offender. Sure, it's unrelated charges, but nonetheless, I'm still a sex offender. You know, because you can become a sex offender by simply taking like a piss in a public area.
Right.
Yeah.
and being busted by the cops for indecent exposure.
Would that distract from the story though?
It would. That was
Yeah.
my own problem with my own
You
recommend.
never want to distract the audience, even with the littlest thing. That's why when you screw up a joke, it kills the joke because
Mhm.
they just you got to give them the smoothest ride to the finish, and then that's it.
Right. And that's why I go from, okay, this kid's doing this thing. I don't know what to do about it. I go to his mom. I tell her this thing. I need to commit to this thing. So I go to the courthouse. I ask this outlandish thing that they've never seen. Nobody's ever voluntarily wanted to do this. And then because of that, now I have to go to this mandatory, or now if she looks me up, here I am, like I'm on this list because I've committed to this. I have to go to these mandatory meetings. I'm the only one who's proud to be there.
You're smiling. I love that detail. That's a very
Yeah.
important crux of the joke.
And what I do too when I say that line, the only one that's smiling, I'll
Yeah.
pause, I'll let the laugh start to die down a little bit, and then I'll give a big smile. Just a little nonverbal thing. And that got a huge laugh at Hatfields once. And so I'm just gonna keep doing it because I feel like it's so
It's perfect. Like that's the apex of that joke, man. That's where like things really, in my opinion, are like, oh, this is, in my mind, that's when that joke becomes something in my head. Does that make sense?
yeah. And I do want to take them on that journey. And you gave me a really good idea too. Where else do parents who like aren't paying attention to their kids bother people? And so I might take that joke onto a plane. I might take that joke into a grocery store. Like I might take that joke. There are a school zone. Like I got a speeding ticket in a school zone, and I told the cop it's for the kids' own good. I'm a sex offender. Like, just give all these examples and see which ones hit. Throw that in there, but it won't fit into that joke just yet. Like Megan's, this might be Megan's Law, but we're playing by David's rules. Like after that, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that like I'd try and fit in a way like, because you're not going to argue with a child. You're an adult. Like,
Yeah.
Why would an adult be arguing with a child in any way, shape, or form? You can't reason with them.
Mm-mm.
And no matter what, you look like an asshole because you're the reasonable person in the situation who's trying to argue with a child. So, there's.
And I kind of turn it on his mom too. If she's a decent parent, she's not going to let that kid come back to this show and tell.
Yeah.
And I didn't used to say that too. I was trying to find a punchline there because it was always, if she's a decent parent, she's not going to let that kid come back. And it was like, there's potential for something funny there because I do there's the big punchline that I'm a sex offender. That gets a big laugh. And then I follow it up with nothing. And so I for like a week, I kept trying to work things into that. Like, what's something funny I can say that's describing what's happening in a different way? Oh, he's coming over to do like a show and tell. That's a very harmless thing until you attach this new information that I just revealed to it. And now it's funny.
Hey, I agree.
Like I would even set it up like I've been having problems with the neighborhood kids, like because you can't leave your, you know what I mean? Like it's one thing like if you're in a grocery store or you're, I guess a plane, you might like that. This kind of applies to in a plane because you got to think of a situation in which you can't really necessarily leave.
I've been working from home.
Right. So yeah, you're working from home, whatever. It's like you're not able to move. It's not practical to move from your house because you're having problems with the neighborhood kids. You're going to try and address the situation. A plane works. A grocery store, you can leave.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that you would have to be in a scenario in which your ability to leave the situation is limiting.
That's a good idea.
Otherwise, the joke falls apart.
Right.
Why wouldn't you just leave? Well, it's my home. I can't leave my home.
I do like that. I do like that a lot. Because I've been trying to figure out like how do I open that bit? And because like that was the beginning of my set that night, I just like put it out there. I'm a problem solver. So I plant the seed of the central theme of the bit, of the whole set, because I do another joke that kind of falls into like the pedophile joke side of things, to follow up with that.
I admire your bravery on that, because in my mind, if I'm gonna work on a new bit, I'm gonna do an old tried and true joke up top to prove to the audience I'm funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the new thing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I admire your bravery when it comes to like, I'm going to work on the new thing up top, see how that goes. Because I guess you're getting a truer sense of like, is this bit strong enough to stand on its own?
Yep.
Whether or not you really have the credibility yet with that audience.
Right.
I think that's true.
Right. And I try to, I feel like, so I felt the emotion that I felt that day. And anytime I feel that, the joke just flows. God, this fucking kid again. What do I do? Just kind of that helplessness, that impatience, that just, I'm fed up with this shit. And if the audience feels that too, I mean, he's an idiot. He's a freeloader. His mom doesn't care. Like, these are all things we can relate to, because we've all been around a parent who is not paying attention to their kid, whether it's in public or whether we know that person or whatever. And so I want to communicate that feeling to them. So I want to connect with them on that. And that was kind of the purpose for a little bit longer of a setup. And that's why I was like, I need to sprinkle some bells and whistles into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the reveal that I'm a sex offender has always gotten a laugh. So I'm confident in opening the set with that. Like, even the first time I told it, it got a laugh. I think it was a TikTok. And the goal of that joke, because I mean, it was a room with just comics. It ended like Brian heckled something from the audience about me like fucking the kid. And I was like, the goal was for me to not to fuck the kid in the joke. That's the last thing that I want. And of course, I'm doing this in a room full of comics, so it always ends with me fucking a kid. I might as well buy a van.
Choose like your own misadventure.
Yeah. So so that little crowd worked that night. So it's like, oh, if the audience takes it that way, then I have something to fall back on, because I believe in the bit. I believe in what I'm saying.
You can't laugh at that.
I've always had an unconventional approach to things, though. Like, when I was a kid, I used to be scared of a lot of weird things. Now I'm not scared of it as much anymore because I learned to lean into it. Like, I used to be scared of the girl from The Ring. Do you guys remember The Ring? Remember that movie? How many of you remember The Ring? 7 days, man. Hell yeah. That movie scared the shit out of me. I was so scared of that girl, but then eventually I got to an age where I was like, this is ridiculous. Why are you scared of this girl? You need to lean into this fear, get over this fear. So I'm no longer scared of the girl from The Ring, because now she is my type. Yeah. I love a lady that comes out of a well. Throw in a quarter, get a girlfriend. Best wish ever. Right, that is how you turn a nightmare into a wet dream. All right. That was a well joke. It wasn't a good joke, but it was a well joke. That was a grammar joke about a well joke.
I like that.
In this joke inception. I'm sorry. Yeah, man. I don't know. People are like, David, she was 9 when she died in the movie. Yeah. But the movie takes place 30 years after she died, so technically I'm dating an older lady. And the good thing about dead 9-year-olds? Why would I start a joke with that? I thought of this on the way, and I was like, oh, this is going to kill.
I keep getting older, and they keep getting...
You keep getting older, and they stay the same age.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to end at that, because that was a good joke. Okay.
You already have the tag I was ready to give you.
What's that?
Great. I said you had the tag already. I didn't know you had that, and I was gonna try and give you that.
Yeah. The good thing about dead 9-year-olds.
But there's got to be a way you can change that a little bit, where you're like, I keep getting older, they keep getting older, but the same age, or something where it's kind of like, because they're dead. You got to incorporate something about necrophilia, or the fact that they're.
No, I think that the way you had it is perfect. That's.
Shut up, Jeremy. I'm
going to throw in a line where like, I love pulling her hair and then just getting a big clump of it. Like,
No, I think Jeremy's right because I think it's a very simplistic thing.
Yeah.
I might be. There may not be anything there to make it more complex and worth the complexity. I think
Yeah.
it needs to stay simple like that.
And two, like depending on whether it works or not, I can throw in like that was a good joke, or that was a bad joke. Don't hold a grudge, and reference that movie.
The
Like,
Grudge, yeah. I was
Yeah.
gonna say.
The
Don't
thing
hold
I
the
like
grudge.
about dead kids is they stay the same age. Is so funny.
Yeah. That's great. It's a perfect addition.
Children, timeless classic.
And it's one of those things too where that, like, I have to have won them over. If the sex offender bit didn't work before that, I was not going to bring that joke out, the ring bit at all. I probably would have closed with something I know that would work. So it's definitely dependent on that.
The funny thing is now the girl from the ring is my type.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's just one of those things where it's like, what have I been scared of, or what do I not like, and how do I lean into it, and like how far can I take that? And
Well, it's one of those things where you face your fears head on.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, now the thing that you were afraid of is your favorite thing, and now you're women coming out of wells.
Yep. A very specific fetish. Just crank that joke out,
That bit.
Yeah. So I'm gonna keep working out. Those are the ones that I'm really gonna so I'm hosting this show at Hatfields tonight. I'm not gonna like open with but I'll close with probably the sex offender one. All right. Golden Ox Studio, for all the stuff you need done in a studio, whether it's hair, makeup, or podcasts, Jeremy's got you. I can't promise your hair or makeup will look better than it did when you got there, but his intent was good. Golden Ox Studio. Steve Mers, LLC. If you need something recorded, shot in full 8K,
6K,
split the difference between the Ks. Steve Mers will shoot you. And make sure you listen to You Can't Laugh at That, the podcast that offends your grandmother, but then makes it okay by the end. And follow our Patreon. And next month, we're going to do a bit by... Who wants to do it?
A bit by what?
Who wants to bring a bit to
I'll
work
bring
on?
a bit. I'll bring a bit.
Okay. Steve Mers.
It'll work really well, and we won't have much to say about it. It's just going to come in.
Then I'll wait a little bit, and then I'll bring a bit.
Yeah.
And hope the bit will hit.
We'll listen to mine and be like, wow, that's perfect. We're not going to do anything to that.
We'll talk a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, submit it to Comedy Central.
That's
there
what
you
this
go.
should be called. Talk a little bit.
Talk a little bit. Talk a little bit. Just a little bit. Not a lot, baby girl. Just a little bit.
You can't laugh a little bit.
Welcome to Talk a Little Bit, where we go through bits that are little.
About little kids.
Bits and chunks.
Yeah, there we go. Blowing bits. Blowing chunks.
Take a look at our little bits.
Sounds like puking or shrapnel.
Nibbles and comedy.
There you go.
All right. Fucking
Bitch.
comedy. All right, boys. I'll see you on the other side of this thing. Thank you for listening to this episode of You Can't Laugh at That Yet. That's the working title. But once a month, we're going to try to do a bonus episode where we will take one of our bits and break it down and figure out how to make it better. It's a bit that is currently in progress, not one that is a finished product just yet. We're working to get it there, even though bits are living and breathing things that can always be continually worked on. So we want to show part of that process in these special episodes. So if you are interested in being a part of one of these episodes, if you want a bit that you are working on, if you want us to talk about it, help you break down, maybe discover some new perspectives, new ideas, new points of view on the bit that you're working on, say you're going through some writer's block, we'd be happy to help. Submit your idea to booking@watercoolercomedy.org, and you can be part of an episode. We'll bring you on. We'll talk to you about the bit. Just send us a recording of the bit. It can be audio. It can be video. You can send a link. You can send a file to that email address. And if you need to attach it via Dropbox or via Google Drive, we'd be happy to give it a listen. So that's that. Thanks for listening to this hastily thrown together episode of You Can't Laugh at That. Yes. Make sure you follow us on social media. Facebook at You Can't Laugh at That. Twitter at You Can't Laugh Pod. And Instagram at The David Horning. Catch you next time. Keep laughing, keep writing, keep getting up there, and keep proving that no matter what, you can laugh at that. Later.
You can't laugh at that.
Special thanks to Golden Ox Studio. You can find Golden Ox Studio for all your podcasting needs at goldenoxstudio.com. Hit up Jeremy. He is fantastic to work with, a professional. He makes podcasting easy. And if you've been kicking the tires on starting your own podcast, definitely give Golden Ox Studio a look. If you'd like to weigh in on today's topic, follow us on Twitter at YouCan'tLaughPod, or like us on Facebook at You Can't Laugh at That, and tell us how you did laugh at today's topic, or how you didn't. This is all about the conversation, is what I'm saying. All right, bye.